Alright, so Tarkir Dragonstorm pre-release happening this weekend, and the question that everybody's been asking me today is, what clan should I choose? Gonna give you my takes on that and more in this video. This video is gonna be a real quick and dirty rundown of things that I think are good to know for going into your Tarkir Dragonstorm pre-release. If you're looking for my extended thoughts on the set, you can check out the 4-hour set review that I posted yesterday, but if you've only got 10 minutes, I'm here to catch you up to speed best I can. So let's start with the question of the hour here. What clan should I choose? And if you're a bit confused at what I mean by that, you get to pick your clan when you go to pre-release this time, and what that means is one of your 6 packs is going to be a seeded pack with only cards from whatever clan you chose. So you actually have quite a bit of agency this time around in Sealed as to what your final deck is going to look like. And well, ultimately, I think you should just choose the clan that speaks to you the most, the one that you think is going to be the most fun to play, and there's no real true wrong answer here. I don't think any of these clans are terrible or bad, or, you know, you're making a mistake playing it. If you are trying to crush your pre-release, trying to put your best foot forward, I would recommend picking one of the black-white touching clans. So that's Obzon and Mardu. I just think that the black-white commons and uncommons are all really strong, you know, really good removal spells, really good creatures. I just came off of the streamer early access event where I had a Obzon trophy and a Mardu trophy, and what I like about these cards are, you know, aside from just having generically good creatures and removal spells, is that the cards just kind of work. They don't really need any additional help. You cast them, they do good things. On the opposite side of that, I think that the Jeskai clan is the most finicky, the one where there's not as many generically good cards, the ones where you kind of have to combo your cards together. And then we have the middle clans, Temur, Sultai. I think those are just fine too. But yeah, if you're really looking to crush, I would recommend Obzon or Mardu and try to stay away from Jeskai, while recognizing that if you've already chosen Jeskai, if you have your heart set on Jeskai, or if your store made you sign up for your clan before you actually go, you aren't making some terrible mistake. You're not just gonna bomb because you chose this clan. Next important thing to talk about is how much you want to be splashing in this 3-color format, because the number one mistake that I think people make in 3-color formats is they say, okay, I'm Obzon, I'm Temur, whatever 3-color combination they are, and they just play equal numbers of each of those colors, right? Like 8 black cards, 8 green cards, 6 white cards, whatever. That's really, really tough on the mana, even in a set with a decent amount of mana fixing like this one. I think what you're ideally looking for is still a 2-color base, but then splashing some powerful cards of that 3rd color. This deck's a good example of that. This is one of the ones I just trophied with on stream. It's an Obzon deck, but really I'm only playing 3 white cards, right? 3 powerful multicolor cards, this mythic, this big dragon, and this black-white rare, which is pretty good. But otherwise, I'm a consistent 2-color deck. I'm really hoping to play a 2-on-2, play a 3-on-3, play a 4-on-4. I'm not trying to be like super duper multicolored, but of course you are going to splash for those powerful 3-color cards more often than you would in some other formats. So I would say ideally you're aiming somewhere between like 2 to 5 3-color cards, or 2 to 5 splash cards. You know, I could have a really good mono white card here. Happy to splash that too. But in general, I would just recommend not going hog wild, making sure that you're still respecting your mana, you still have a 2-color base, and if you are splashing, you got the fixing to be able to do that. And so let's just talk about that mana fixing quickly. So we've got a bunch of great lands in this set. We've got these tri-lands at uncommon. We've got the enter the battlefield, gain a life lands in the land slot in most packs. It's like almost 90% of packs we're going to have one of these lands in the land slot. We've also got these monuments at uncommon. I actually really like these ones. So these are 2-mana artifacts that go and get a land of whatever your clan's lands are, so one of the 3, and then they can sacrifice to make some number of tokens. So pretty good fixers. We've also got this Devotee cycle. There's a common creature of each of the clans, and they filter for mana, so like this Mardu Devotee here. Another way I'm pretty happy to fix my mana. We've got Evolving Wilds in this set. We've also got some like lesser fixers, like this Dragonstorm Globe. You know, if you really had a lot of dragons, or really were multicolored, or had a pretty heavy splash, or were just a little bit light on fixing, I could see playing this card. Same thing here with Roamer's Routine. Not the best fixing. You have to pay 3 whole mana for it, but, you know, it works in a pinch. Ideally, what you're doing is not playing that many basics of your 3rd color. So 1 or 2 max is really what I'm looking for. Again, thinking about a 2-color base plus a little bit of a splash. You're hoping not to have like 5 mountains, 5 plains, 5 swamps, and, you know, a couple of dual lands. You're really hoping to have a good mana base here. And I think the more the merrier as far as these fixing tools go. I think it is better to have a tap land interrupt your curve out once in a while than to not be able to cast your spells. Okay, now let's touch on some cards I think you're going to want to keep an eye out for when you're opening your packs. You're going to be excited to see these cards. I'm mostly going to talk about monocolored cards because most of the gold cards are just generally pretty good. So want to highlight some of the cards that might not jump off the page immediately. First, one of the best commons in the set, Salt Road Pack Beast, 6 mana, 4/3. Costs 1 less for each creature you control, and when this enters, you draw a card. So often, this card's like 2, 3 mana, especially with the mobilized tokens running around. There's Obzons and Dur tokens, even if you're not particularly token heavy. And this is like a 4 mana card. Still a 4/3 that draws a card. Fantastic card. I would not be surprised if this ends up being the best common in the set. Another really good one, Sibsig Appraiser, 3 mana 2/1. Look at the top 2 cards of your library, take 1, put 1 in the graveyard. So the dream here is you get to draw a card you want and then put like a Harmonize or a Renew card in the grave, things that have relevance in the grave. Kind of similar to the Camel, draws you cards. Not as good of a body, of course, but one that might kind of slip through the cracks if you're not privy to it. We've also got some pretty good 2s here. Shock Brigade, I've been a fan of this one. 2 mana, 1/3 Menace, mobilize 1. So for those who have played OG Kari Zev, kind of reminiscent of that card, funny enough. We also have Fortress Kinguard, which is a 2 mana, 1/2 that endures 1, which means you either put a counter on it or make a 1/1 token. Just a phenomenal 2-drop, really, really strong. And then I want to call it Sarkhan's Resolve, not as a common that's as good as the ones we just talked about, but as one that's very easy to overlook. So in this set, all about dragons, I think 30% of the creatures, that's the number, 30% of the creatures have flying. So when you staple a destroy target creature with flying effect onto a playable combat trick, it becomes a card I'm fairly happy to play. You know, nothing I'm dying to put in my deck or anything, but if you're a little bit low in removal, if you're just looking for that last playable, yeah, I think Sarkhan's Resolve definitely gets the job done. And then some nice uncommons I want to call out. So I said I wasn't going to talk about too many gold cards, but I do have to shout out Sonic Shrieker. This is, I think, one of the best uncommons, might be the best in the set. 5 mana, 4/4 flyer, comes in, deals 2 to any target, you gain 2 life. If you target an opponent with this, they discard a card. This is a card that if I was like Obzon, for example, like I was black, white, green, I'd be happy adding a 4th color to my deck for this card. Like you have to have the fixing for it, of course. I'm not just going to put a bunch of mountains in, but do consider, I think the card is strong enough to do so. We also have this cycle of Dragonstorms, which are enchantments that come in, do a thing. Then when you have a dragon enter, you can pick them back up, cast these later. And I think they're kind of all varying in power level. Some of them are better than others, but I did want to call it the white one, as I think clearly the best. 4 mana, make 2/2/2s. If you ever do this twice, you just feel amazing. Your opponent kind of, slinks back in their chair, just like, oh, okay, they picked that thing up again. So yeah, I think this is a very worthwhile payoff for putting dragons in your deck. And a card that plays nice with those cards is Sun Pearl Kirin. Just a phenomenal card in general, but has a lot of synergies with a lot of stuff that's going on in the set. So this is a 2 mana, 2/1 flash flyer. You get to pick something up that you control, and if you pick up a token, you draw a card. So this saves creatures from removal. This re-triggers into the battlefield effects. You can pick up a mobilized token that's just going to get sacrificed anyways. So yeah, one of the more premium white uncommons. And white's actually got quite a few good uncommons, like I mentioned at the top of this episode here. Brumeg Rakshasa, awesome card. 6 mana, 5/5 menace. Comes in, often kills something, gives one of your creatures a buff. Another premium uncommon. Channel Dragonfire might not look amazing on first glance. It's like, okay, 1 mana, deal 2, sorcery speed, but it goes to any target, and the Harmonize cost, again, looks very scary, 5 red, red. But often that means, you can cast it for like 3 mana, sometimes 4, but just having a shock that flashes back. Also a very powerful card. Going to face, dealing the last 4 damage, something that, is really good. So don't be too scared of the expensive Harmonize cost, basically. This is another pretty premium uncommon, I would say. A few more here. Rally the Monastery. This is one that I was really impressed with. So it's a 4 mana instant that either makes prowess tokens, gives your creatures +2/+2, or destroys a creature with power 4 or greater. But if you cast another spell, this only costs 2 mana. So 2 mana for any of those effects is very, very powerful. And one card that I wasn't quite sure about before playing, but I am convinced, I'm a believer after playing this card a lot today, is Duty Beyond Death. So 2 mana instant, you have to sack a creature an additional cost to cast the spell, but of course you can sack an Endure token, a Mobilize token. Creatures you control gain indestructible until end of turn, and you put a +1/+1 counter on each of them. I had this in both of my trophy decks today, and it won me, I don't know, I'd say 5 or 6 games, maybe even more than that. I lost count. Every time I drew this, I was like, wow, that is phenomenal here. And you often don't feel so bad about sacrificing a creature because, yeah, there's a lot of fodder running around. And if you do have to sacrifice a real creature, you don't have any tokens, it's also not that bad because you can often, like, win 2 combats or just push lethal damage. So, yeah, do keep your eye out for this one. I think if you're at all in the tokeny space, it's great. And even if you're not, I think it's an okay playable. And that is most of what I think you need to know going into this weekend for pre-release. I did want to leave you with what I think are the bombiest bombs in the set. 2 Planeswalkers this time around. We've got Elspeth and Ugin. Elspeth's a 5 mana, 5 loyalty Planeswalker with a good static ability. The plus ability makes 2 tokens a turn. The 0 anthems your team and mostly time just like kills your opponent on the spot. removal if you need it attached. You could take multiple lines of cards off this card. It would still be pretty good. And the other one, Ugin, Eye of the Storm, is probably the #1 card you're hoping to open in your pool because it's colorless. You're always going to be able to play it. 7 mana Planeswalker, kills something when it comes in, starts drawing you cards, gaining a life. Yeah, just phenomenal. Once in a while, you might cast a colorless spell to exile something else. So yeah, hope everybody watching this opens one of these cards. Hope you feel a little bit more prepared for pre-release. If you liked and you're new here, do feel to click that subscribe button. Really helps the channel. And yeah, good luck this weekend. We'll see you later.